Hello, everyone. Welcome to your daily dose of truth to hear. In case you're wondering what program this is, it is Truth Talk. It's not Truth Talk or Conversation. So we will have Bill and Brandy joining me. Today's conversation topic is something I was not going to talk about. I thought, well, it's been done. It's over. It's over talked about. It's just something that we can't fix. So why discuss it? Discuss it. But I can't do that. I just think that we have a responsibility to talk about it, to get some other viewpoints on it. So we are live today. And once you hear the topic, then join us. Give us what you think. Is the shooting of Dante Wright and was the stop of the military officer, lieutenant, was that a racial thing? Or was it simply just bad policing? Because it had to be one or the other. So, or both. But we want your talk on it because I'm going to tell you what happened in my neck of the woods that I personally experienced this week. And then other things. So we just need to have an open discussion on it. Before Brandy and Bill joins me, please don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and share this video so that we can get the conversation going out even further and the channel can get the viewership so that more people like you can get understanding of today's topics. Bill and Brandy, how are you two?
Hello.
Today's topic, like I said, it's not a comfortable one. I don't even know if we can come up with a solution. I know we like to say, hey, here's how in the word of God we can have a solution. Here's how as Christians we can help, be part of the solution or at least find peace and comfort. I don't know that this topic today is one we're going to have that gives a solution or direction for anyone. But as we discuss it today, I hope people that are listening will join us in our chat and let us know how this affects them, if it affects them at all. So we're going to talk about two things. The lieutenant being stopped, and then Dante Wright, excuse me for mispronouncing his name. And, when I first heard about when I first saw the video of the lieutenant, I didn't think black man. I thought military man, being disgraced the way he was. That's what I thought. When I heard about Dante Wright, I saw his parents and I started hearing about what was happening. I also didn't think black man at first. I thought, how do you misfire? How do you a taser is handled differently than a weapon? I'm not that's what I went to. I don't know if you guys are familiar with these stories, but did you automatically think race or think it's not about race?
Well, I'm going to say that the Minnesota situation, I don't think was about race. I think that was absolutely, I don't know if it was training related. I don't know if her emotions were so high she couldn't think it through. That does happen on combat situations. I've been in the Army and I'm a cop, so I've been in very dangerous situations. Sometimes people freeze, sometimes people do all kind of stuff. I mean, you don't know. And so I think that one was that related. The other one, there was so much wrong with the lieutenant's situation, in my opinion, on everybody, including the lieutenant. I was just sitting there going, I cannot believe any of this. I can't believe this is happening. Just from being both a military guy and a cop, nothing that happened right there made sense to my mind. So I'm not going to psychoanalyze somebody. I just don't know on either side, but I didn't get it, because here's a lieutenant in the United States Army. He's been through a lot of training. He knows how to behave in certain situations. He's not. Here's a cop who's been trained in a lot of situations. He's not. Nobody went back to their education, their training, or what they would demand of people underneath them. He's a lieutenant. He's in charge of people. He would not allow anybody to disobey an order directed by him. He wouldn't let it. But then this is a cop who knows how to deal with people, supposedly. And if his subordinates were dealing this way, he wouldn't let them get away with it. So that's why I was like, what happened? That was how I viewed those two things.
Randy, before I let you answer, I just want to address one thing. And you know, Bill, I'm military, ex-military as
Right.
well.
Yes.
But I think the lieutenant, in my 100%, I get it. I don't think he was a lieutenant in the military at that point. He was a black man in a car with two white officers, guns drawn, for absolutely no reason. Now, being stopped is one thing, but guns drawn before you're told anything else, guns drawn just off the bat, that you're a black man at that point. You're not a lieutenant in the Army. But I do believe that he did exercise his military discipline by staying calm, by saying, you know, putting his hands out the window, by voicing that, you know, I'm afraid to get out. Like he told him, I'm afraid to get out of the car. And let's look at something for a minute. Randy, welcome back. But he said, you know, the officer said, you're being detained. He said, I'm honestly afraid to get out of the car.
Mm-hmm.
And the officer says, guns drawn, dude, you should be. So I don't see anybody being
That's
like,
what I was saying.
okay.
I couldn't believe what I was seeing.
Yes, but I have to say, I will 100% defend what this lieutenant did, because you're not going to get out of the car when the officers completely first reaction to you before they come up to your window is to have guns drawn. Like there's no way. Randy, what do you think about that?
I think it's sad, first of all, that humanity has come to this, that we can't both make it home. And 9 times out of 10, I can't say that because I'm not a police officer. I know that police officers probably get killed every day as well. It's just unfortunate that it's come to humanity, no matter whether it's black or white, that a civilian, you don't choose that I get to go home to my family and children. You choose death. Like, and I know that there's something psychological behind not shooting in the arm and the leg, and you know, but literally they shoot these people to death like 26 times, 12 times. You know, it wasn't a protective shot, it was a kill shot. So to me, it's just sad that we've come to this when it's stuff like an air freshener, it's stuff that you were not in any kind of danger. And what was it? A license plate expired. I had a license plate expired, and when I did get stopped, I would, and we should not. My daughter, we have talked about this over and over and over. Do not say anything, do whatever they tell you. I know a girl that was told to strip naked by a police officer, and she did it to save her life. Now, because they said they were going to do that. Yeah, Bill looking like, really? Yeah, they did the whole pat down. She had to strip naked, and she did it to save her life.
Yeah.
So it's almost like we can't say anything. You can't say why. You can't say, they can't even respond and halfway move in the car before you're being detained or get out the car. You look suspicious. You look dangerous. And so when my daughter got stopped, it was 3 o'clock in the morning. She was on her way home from work, but her car fit the description of someone who had just robbed a gas station. And so they made her get out the car. They didn't touch her or anything, but she was terrified, and she's only 20. And so I can't imagine if she was my son, my black son. I cannot imagine what they're going through right now, because that's all that keeps happening is black men gets killed. black man gets killed. A black woman every once in a while, but black man gets killed. So to me, it's very sad. It's very unfortunate. And I think that just like I spoke before, I think there's just unspoken things that are happening behind closed doors that we don't see, because there's no way that police officers across America all do the same thing. It's not just Minnesota. It's not just South Carolina. It's not just Florida. All these police officers act just the same. So the training, like Bill said earlier, the training, it has to be off. Maybe it just needs to be redone, because there's no way that you pulled a trigger by mistake. A taser and a trigger don't even, don't you have to pull up?
No, they actually, I can explain that. I myself, when I wear my gun and taser, I wear them on two different hands. I practice shooting the taser with the left hand, and I shoot the pistol with my right hand. Not everybody can do that. I'm pretty ambidextrous. So
Okay.
I train to do that. And so do a lot of people, but some people are incapable of it. And the taser feels like a gun, looks like a gun.
Okay.
You pull the trigger just like a gun. I do believe that she really believes she had a taser in her hand because of sensory overload. She believed it. I do think so. I don't know that. I just believe she believed that and then did that. This isn't the first time that's ever happened. It's happened even in training situations where people just mess up. The problem is when you're dealing with life and death situations, which we do both in the military and in law enforcement, you're dealing with a lot of people. I mean, I think there's roughly 50 to 60 million law enforcement contacts a year with the public. There is a few hundred deaths a year, 300 on average or so. And we're right on that same schedule this year. There's 20 something in January. I don't know after February. February we had 28 or something. And by the way, the only ones you see on the news, and I know this sounds so terrible to say this, I get it. People are gonna hate me, but look the numbers up. Look up the numbers. Brandy, you said all I see is black men getting killed. More white people get killed by the cops than black people in number. Now I know that the percentages it's percentage stuff. I get all that. I'm not for any of this stuff, but I'm saying you'll never see in January, I think it was somewhere roughly around 8 black people were killed and 14 white people were killed. And you never saw one of the white people on the news, not one, because it's not news. It's not news when a cop shoots a white guy. It's not news. And so it is news the other way around, though, and it's going to be plastered. And it makes people, I actually think this, and I may be wrong, but I really hate what's going on. Because I think that once that starts, it starts this ball rolling where people are afraid. They react like that lieutenant, and then the cop reacts wrong, and everybody starts doing it wrong. And that's everybody. I hate it. I really do. I've had so many people fight me. I've had so many people try and do things to me. And I personally have not had to lose my wits about me yet. I can't say that tomorrow won't happen, but I haven't had to. But if they don't do that, I don't want to hurt anybody ever. I actually would rather be your friend. But it is a very, very precarious world we're living in. Also, now Melanie, I understand what you said, but I'm going to say when I was in the Army, I came back from overseas on deployment and I got arrested, but not really. It was for tags. I was going to leave. I was ETSing. And the cop pulled a gun on me and he took me to the magistrate to pay my fine. But he pulled a gun on me. I did whatever the man said. I was like, oh, you're taking this real serious. Now, I'm a white guy. I get that. But that happened to me at Fayetteville, North Carolina. And that did happen to me, but that's never going to make the news ever, but it did happen. Now, I didn't argue with him. I said, okay. I don't know why you're taking this so serious, but okay. And then he took me down to the judge, and the judge actually kind of he wasn't on that guy's side. He didn't even find me. He just said, go pay for your tag, son. I was young then. And I did, but that was it. But that stuff happens a lot. 50 million contacts a year on average.
All right. So let me just say this, bring out some things here between you and Brandy. When is that one contact that's your son? It's different. It matters. And like I said, it's not about race to me, because it is just about, for me, what are we doing about it?
Right.
What are we doing about it? But just so you know, here is the story. Parent of white teen shot dead by police in South Carolina, and the cop mocked the dead body, saying, "I'll blow your head off." So I'm not here just to say, hey, only the black men matter that get shot. I'm saying this. Well, let me back up a little bit. And please, we have people watching. Please share us what you're thinking about. Comment. We'll put it live on the air.
And just in case
This is
people
the
don't
thing.
know, he was actually a police officer.
Yes, this is the thing. It was in one of the interviews, either by the mayor of Minneapolis or the police chief, said that they are trained to have the weapon on their dominant side and the taser on their non-dominant side, like Bill just said. They are trained that way. Now, understandably, you never know how you're going to react in a bad situation. Okay, you just don't. But this was a young man's life taken away, and this is my issue, and I'm gonna show it to you. Here's my issue: is this? She was able to resign. That's my issue, Bill. This woman, okay. Oh, I'm so sorry. Accidental shooting. I meant a taser, but hey, I killed the dude. But I'm just gonna resign from my job. And okay, we're supposed to be okay with that. Let me put this up. This is what I'm upset about. Is in the statement, Arthur called Officer Gutierrez's termination. She wasn't terminated, she resigned. Appropriate. That's appropriate for killing someone? We must consider steps to decertify officers that engage in this behavior. All right. And goes on to say that, this is just unjust police civilian encounter as it unfolds. But, really, do you really think it's appropriate justice for her and the police chief to resign? They didn't resign, honestly. It goes on in the story. She didn't resign because she did wrong. She resigned because of the protest. They thought, let's give the protesters what they want, and let's go ahead and let her resign so that the protest can stop. They did it to appease people, not because of what she did. So here's a situation. If you have a business that has an electrical fire, you didn't mean to kill those people, but maybe you didn't get your certifications. You knew there was a leak or something, and you didn't. You can get brought up on what is it? Not intentional homicide. What's it? Negligent homicide. You didn't intend to do it, but your actions caused a homicide. But because she's a police officer, she can't be brought up on negligent homicide.
That's actually not true. You can actually, cops get arrested for that. There's people serving life terms for it. So
Okay,
I don't know.
so that's the
And by
problem.
the way, every state has different laws. I can
Right.
only speak for California. In fact, even a lot of times, different areas in the state behave differently. Like New York City is going to behave in their laws a lot differently than Buffalo.
Mhm.
That's just the way it's going to be. So, and the district attorneys are usually elected officials and everything else. In San Francisco, they do it one way, and in LA they do it another. So there isn't a like this is the way it always works. And cops do get arrested, and I don't know what's going to happen to her legally in the long run, because I don't think that's over. I think the resignation is she's not going to be on the street anymore. That doesn't mean the investigation's over. That doesn't mean anything else that couldn't happen. And you can always sue people. Now, you can always sue people. Doesn't mean you're going to win, but you can always sue people. And I don't, this is the problem. We got a really big issue here, Melanie, and it is beyond I don't want to be in charge of this because I wouldn't know how to fix it. I don't have any idea. But we got a really big issue here of people that are rolling downhill. Now, we're Christians, all three of us. I believe this is actually God taking his hands off of America. I believe that. His protection, and Satan is having his way, causing nothing but hatred and division from everybody. There's nobody, there's people hating each other right now. I've heard so many weird statements this week over what's going on. I mean, weird, like from things I would never expect. And I don't want to get into it because it's racial and against Mexicans. Like, oh, it's just because she's a Mexican. I heard a Mexican say that 2 days ago, or yesterday, maybe it was yesterday. Say, well, it's just because she's a Mexican. Nobody wants any Mexican cops. And I'm like, we're in Santa Maria. Over half the cops are Mexican. What are you talking about? But that's what the person believes, you know? And I'm like, I can't make them believe anything else. I don't have time to talk to them about it. It's just, we're going through our process. And I'm just like, I don't know if there's any hope, because if you divide the blacks and the Mexicans and the whites and the Asians and this person and that person and you're never going to get anywhere. And that's what we're doing. And I think this is so, and by the way, once again, I have no idea how to fix this.
Yeah, the thing is, we talk a lot about the police having fear, like they roll up on someone and they're automatically fearful. So therefore they have the right to draw the gun because they have reasonable fear of the person, the suspect. That's okay. But what about the reasonable fear that is actually discounted so much? Black men have a reasonable fear of being stopped by police. It's not unwarranted. It is because, yes, the media highlights what they want. It's political at best. It's media negligence to only highlight Black men being killed. But that's what Black men see. That's right. What women, mothers of Black men see. Mm-hmm. I remember, my son was like 18. He was coming to LA from where he lived up in San Luis. And he called me, he said, "Mom, I'm being pulled over." I can honestly tell you, my heart sunk to my chest. It was on a back road. And I thought, oh no. I said, "Modest, stay on the phone." And you know what? The conversation I had with my son, and that's why this bothers me so much, is the exact conversation Dante's mother had with her son. "Keep me on the phone. Ask the police if he can talk to me because you're too nervous. You're too upset. He's going to think something's going on with you, Modest. You need to get me on, ask him if he can speak to me." And the cop rolls up and comes on the window, and Modest like, "I'm on the phone with my mom." He's like, "I need your license plate. I need your driver's." And so he reaches and he's like, "What are you reaching for?" He was trying to get to the glove compartment, but he's like, "What do you have in the glove compartment? What are you reaching for?" And my son's like, "Well, the registration." He's like, "No, what are you reaching for?" And he's screaming at my son that he's reaching for something other than the registration. And so I'm on the phone screaming, saying, "Talk to me." I had thanked God that the cop got the phone, said, "Give me the phone. Let me talk to your mom." And he talked to me. And I thank God for that officer. Mm-hmm. He said, "Your son's reaching and I don't trust it." And I said, "Why don't you trust it? You told him to give you the registration. I can verify it's in the glove compartment." He said, "Well, how can I know that there's not a weapon there? So I need to get him out of the car and draw my weapon to verify he doesn't have a weapon in the glove compartment." That's not what happens when white people get pulled over. It's just not.
Actually, no, Melanie, it does. And because I've been on lots of calls where white people and Mexican people, because that's where I work. I don't work around too many Black people. It depends on the circumstances. Most people don't have that problem, but most people aren't so worked up.
But in that circumstance, what are you supposed to do?
What I'm saying is I've been involved with a lot of these where somebody's super worked up. They're acting very odd. Now, I'm not saying your son was, and I don't know that situation. I'm talking about ones I was involved with, where people are behaving very strange. When people are behaving very strange, you have to take that into account. Like, what is going on with this? Because I've had people fall apart and cry, but I've also had people start cussing and yelling. I've had people jump out of the car and run back to my car. I've had all that happen multiple times. And every one of those are different situations, but it does happen. It does happen to people that aren't Black, but you'll never hear about it. And
but when someone says, forget the race, when someone says, "I'm afraid for my life, I'm afraid to do what you're telling me to do," I'm afraid and I'm nervous. That's why I'm, sweating. I don't know tell me what to do. There's no other answer, but I'm drawing my weapon and you're going to get out on the concrete.
See,
And
that's where I was talking about training. I actually don't understand why that situation happened that way on either side, because I also think that people in the military understand rank structure. Oh, sorry, Brandy, go ahead.
I have a question. Why are road stops not, because this is happening to all of us. So we've said white, black, Puerto Rican, Haitian.
right.
So since it's becoming pretty much, it's a disaster. Let's just say that. It's a disaster. So what is it that we can ask to be implemented? Because this is a disaster. It's going to keep happening. It's going to have Modest's children and their children's children. And eventually it's going to, because guns are legal. So it's not, so why does it matter if I have a gun in my glove compartment? I should be able to protect myself from you and anybody else. So, of course, drugs are illegal and stuff like that. But if you have my address, the government knows where I'm sitting at this very moment. I have location on my phone. I have all of those things. So why can't you petition me in a different kind of way? Why do we have to do traffic stops?
Well, when you pull somebody over, you don't even know who's driving that car. I don't know it's a person that owns the car. I don't know any of that stuff. You have to ID that person. So you do pull the car over. Also, a lot of times traffic stops are for situations that are like they're driving very badly, dangerously. Also, I'm not saying this just the tags, because I've driven without tags. I forgot to pay them. Everybody does. But when you pull somebody over for that, a lot of times you find they don't have a driver's license, they don't have insurance, they get in a wreck, and now they hit you, Brandy, and you say, well, cop, why didn't you do something about this? You knew he wasn't legally on the road, and you just let him go. It's all from where you're standing, where you're the victim of. Everybody wants somebody to take responsibility for, and I think we should. I didn't like what I've seen. Okay, nothing. I'm not defending the cops in this situation, either one of them, because I thought it was out of control. But I also say that everybody has some responsibility, not just anywhere, all places, to try and get, and it's not going to happen, but to try and get through this thing so that one possibility in Minneapolis, we don't want cops. We cut them down, cut the number down tremendously. In Minneapolis, they did that, and crime went right through the roof. So now we have a lot of victims, a lot of violent crimes that aren't getting arrested because we got a lot less cops. Now they're complaining that that's happening. There's no easy answer to any of this stuff, and I don't have the answer. So when I'm saying what I'm saying, Brandy, please, and Melanie, please understand, I am not coming from an answer like, oh, just do what I'm saying and we'll fix this. Right. No, that's not true. I don't see that at all. But I also, like I said, there's nothing nefarious behind the scenes other than Satan. I don't think there's anybody saying, hey, let's go kill people. And by the way, the numbers are the same since I became a cop, which was right after 9/11. The numbers are the same. The same amount of people get killed in law enforcement contacts every year. About twice as many white people as black people, then about half as many Asians as black or Hispanics as black people, and then almost no Asians at all. And I mean, it's just, this is the numbers that go every year since I became a cop, and it's about 300
for you too. What's that? I them to you if you want to pull it up. I have those numbers for you.
Yeah.
So in 2020, white men was 457. Black men was 241, Hispanic was 169, other was 28, and unknown was 126. But I think, like Melanie said, it's the reason behind why people are getting shot and killed. The white population, it's like they get away with, it wouldn't have been an air freshener and this expired tag. You have these guys out here, 19 and 20 years old, completing whole massacres, getting a Burger King sandwich. So that's not equivalent. They're not getting shot for the same reasons. So there may be more of them, but there are also more white males who commit multiple murders at a time, where black men aren't found to be the shooter in a lot of these mass shootings. But
Well,
they,
let
but
me
they
let me touch
want to
base on
kill.
that, Brandy, because this is the thing for me. One, I think if you had these officers, though, you know it's just blatant. Okay, this officer admittedly had an accidental shooting. It's an accidental shooting in her eyes. I don't think anything is malice at this point. I think she was afraid. There was a scuffle with the young man. He was trying to go back to his car. She was afraid. She accidentally pulled the weapon from the taser. I don't know how that happens. I'm not an officer, but you can understand that. But she needs to be prosecuted
Right.
as such. It is it's a negligent thing. It's she didn't mean to kill him, but that's a difference between homicide and I don't know the term, Bill, you do, negligent homicide or whatever. It's still a murder. She still killed somebody. Whether she did it accidentally or not, there needs to be press the charges and then let it go have its day in court. If you just continue to let people who hurt people humiliate them like they did the lieutenant, and then say, you know what, just quit your job and get another job. That's not going to
Well,
deter
I'm going to
anyone.
agree with you on that 100%. There's a lot of people that shouldn't do the job, and
Right.
we
It's
weed them
not
out.
every cop. Like I said, that one officer, I wish I remembered his name, but we did reach out and thank him because he treated my son with dignity. He gave him the chance to talk to me. He understood my son's fears, calmed him down, and it was so de-escalated in a matter of a minute. And he saw that and he gave my son a chance to say, hey, we're good. You know, are you okay? I don't want you afraid of police officers after this. And he sat a long time and talked with my son to fix the initial fear that came on him. That's a good cop. I've been stopped multiple times. I've never had a problem with police officers. They've always treated me with respect. But the media, that's who's at fault here. If they were to publicize the white, the Latino, the Asian incidences as equal as the black incidences, we wouldn't feel so afraid as black men or black mothers or girlfriends. If the media
I agree with
would
that.
would not make such a campaign out of the on the backs of other people's torment, it wouldn't be like this. So, you know, it's not the police officer, it's not the black men, it's the society. And like you guys said, it is this demonic release in our
I think so.
atmosphere in this time. It is we're getting what we asked for when we took away prayer and the Ten
Yeah.
Commandments and the public events and schools. And we can't talk about religion because it's hate crime. And we asked for God to lift his hand. Um, you know, that's what we asked for. He did, you know, God did it in the Bible days. He did it with Elijah. He did it with, and he's going to do it again. And so,
Yeah.
but we can't not talk about it. We can't not do something when we're in the middle of it. And I just want to share, you know, this last week I went out with my family, parts of my family, and we're just in this like area with shops, and all of a sudden we hear this man just like yelling, I'm getting my teeth fixed, I'm getting my teeth fixed. He was standing at a jeweler counter. He was a black man. Well, these two cops, security guard cops, were they were armed. So, you know, I don't know, but they start poking at him and pulling on him, saying, "Get out of the store! Get out of the store! Your mask is off." And he's telling the cop, and so is the jeweler, "We're fixing his jewelry teeth. He just pulled it down for a minute for jewelry." Now you look around, there's probably 15 people. They don't have masks on, but he literally is the only black person in the area, and they wanted him out of that store. You're contagious. You need to get out. You need, and pulling on him. And he's like, then the jeweler, everybody was like, wait a minute. He's trying to show him a tooth that has gold jewelry. He's trying to get it fixed. He's got to show it to him. Now, I went to step in because, like, how do you not? You know? And I know, Bill, you're thinking that's the wrong move, but there, it's like, it's so evident. And they just had no respect for this guy. There was
Now,
a lack of respect as a human being. Then they pull out pepper spray, and they let, honestly, the other races was able to talk, stand there, watch, talk. I go up there, and I try to go up there. I'm pushed back. I can't be around there. And it's like, and they're like, okay, now we got to taser everybody around here. I mean, not taser, pepper spray. So they pull out pepper spray. And, I get pulled back by my family member. Melanie, this is not your business. I'm like, yes, it is. Because this is wrong. This is wrong.
now I got to ask you something though, Melanie. You said it's in a jewelry store?
It was in an open area with a jewelry market. Yes.
Were they actual cops or were they security people? Because there is a difference.
They look like security people, but they had full weapons. They had full gear and weapons. And the guy said,
I can tell you this. I have arrested security guards who were armed, I think 3 times in my career because of their behavior. They're security guards. They're hired by places, banks or whatever.
And they think they're cops. They think they have the law enforcement behind them.
But they have no training in this. And I've arrested them for their behavior. So, I mean, I'm asking, I wasn't there. I don't know. Maybe they were cops. I don't know. I'm just saying.
No, I think they were security guards because the guy was like, call the cops. And we're like, call the real cops. Call police officers out here, but stop harassing them. Even when the man was done, he put his mask back on. The jeweler was still wanting to work. This guy had gone to this jeweler for 10 years. The jeweler said, he's been my customer for 10 years. Leave the man alone. And even when the mask was on, they were still poking at him, pulling him. You need to get out. You need to get out. Trying to drag him out of the store. And I'm just like, this is the environment. This is what we're in. And so when you see things like that, and then the media only portrays one side of the story, it does make people like cops are aware. They got media attention showing all the black rioters and all that.
Yeah.
And then we got the black people showing only the cops killing black people. The society is causing this rift. Now, what do we do about it? I think we gotta step in if we need to, but we need to ignore it at the same time and say, listen, I ain't got a problem with nobody. Like you said, Bill, I don't have a problem. I'm not gonna play the game and tell all of my, black friends, beware, don't do this, don't do that. Beware of I'm not gonna cause that fear to be trickled down through me.
Now I understand that people will say you're a white guy, you don't understand, and I don't. Okay, I'll say that. But I told all my children, just because your dad's a cop doesn't mean that when you get pulled over, you say, hey, you can't. I'm a cop's son or daughter. I say you be respectful. You show them what you always keep your hands there. You do this. You do this. This is what they want from you, and you do these things. Now I've said that to all my kids too, because some cops' kids start playing that card when you pull them over. Oh, you don't understand who I am. I'm important, and it's like, well, you're really not. And it doesn't work that way. But for some reason in their mind, they think it does. Well, I've told all my kids, don't ever do that. I'm not in the same situation. I get that. But my point is every time you deal with, one of my daughters, when she was young, she said, I hope one of my bucket lists is to run from the cops. This is while I was a cop. And she goes, well, that's a bucket list. And I said, why do you want to do that? Just ask her, why do you want to do that? She goes, it'd be super exciting. And I said, well, then people are going to get hurt. Maybe you, maybe the cop, maybe a civilian, who knows? Something bad's going to happen. That's why I don't want you to do that. Don't ever do that because somebody's going to get hurt. But that was a teenage mindset. She's outgrowing that mindset, I know now. But she did say that to me. This was a bucket list of mine, Dad. And I'm like, that's a bad plan.
That's a bad list. But in the same light, I want to address Granny's other comment. And I do.
She never did, by the way. She never did. I just let she never got pulled over to where she ran. So.
And I do blame the media because I know this happens, but you cannot deny the fact that most, I would say all, but I can't say all, but most, the majority of these public shooters, I forget the right word to say, but these public shooters that go into places and do these shootings of 4, 5, 10 people, whatever, mall shootings, church shootings, all of them, they are predominantly white males,
Mhm.
but they also get out unscathed by the police. They have full armor. I can't, like, I don't know how you, I know that the media portrays one way or the other, but there are two facts that a white male can walk through the streets of a riot and the cops just pass him by and he's got a weapon drawn. But a black man can't sit in his car. You know, you have the like she said, you have all of these shooters, even just this last couple of months, that just get out with laying down. Yes, they put their weapon down, they lay down. I know you're gonna say, well, they listen to the police. But let me tell you,
If I arrest you for anything, Melanie, you go to a school shooting, which I've never been to one, but let's say there is one, and I go to the school shooting, and as soon as I see you and I pull the gun, you drop the gun and say, I give up. I cannot shoot you. I cannot do that. And that's true no matter who you are. Now, I'm going to say that if he shoots at me, I don't care what color he is or if he's shooting at other people. I don't care. If he doesn't comply, I don't care. I will shoot that person. But I don't care what color they are. But if they drop the gun and they say, I give up, I quit, I can't shoot them.
I understand that, but there also is just the stories that the media portrays. The black men are getting shot in the back. In the back. You're not supposed to shoot somebody in the back. But it's not the same. I don't know how, I get that you're that way, but I don't know how anybody can honestly say men who kill dozens of people, there's never an incident where they get shot accidentally or get shot because of emotion or get shot because they were just so riled up. I think a police officer should be really riled up and scared of someone who's got an AK-47 and just shot 10 people versus someone sitting in their car where you can get riled up and it's okay. Like, I honestly just don't see how I don't understand it. That's all I'm gonna say. Go ahead, Brandy.
No, I think, and this is what I tell people all the time, if you don't have the penalty for the thing has to be really bad so that I don't do the thing again. And what these police officers are saying, Bill, I'm glad that you're a great representative out here, and I don't think that all police officers are bad. However, if I can shoot somebody and keep my job, I might have to go on trial. They might start protesting and stuff, but 9 times out of 10, I'm gonna be, acquitted, and they're gonna let me go ahead and keep my job. So, but if I know that if I kill anybody, that it's potentially that I'm gonna go to jail myself, and that's the new example, I think that it will start happening less because there is no penalty for killing somebody, black or white. Maybe there is a penalty, but we have not seen it executed in the last, 2 years, and all of these people have been shot. And if all of those 800 people that are just read were shot by police officers, and none of those police officers went to jail, none of them.
But I'm going to say that out of the millions of arrests and the tens of millions of contacts and the 800 deaths, how many of those, and I don't know, by the way, I don't know every one of those things, but how many of those were situations where it was a life or death situation? Now, not all, because it's not all. People make errors sometimes, and then there's bad people too. I mean, I actually don't even like the way I sound right now, because I sound like I'm taking the other side to what you're saying, and I'm not, because I'm actually in agreement with you. There's big problems, but my fear is that the problems aren't just law enforcement, and that's the way it's being portrayed. And the problem here is just the way cops are, and that's not true. And that won't fix the problem. Now, the problem is somebody's black. Well, that can't be changed either. So, I mean, we've got problems that I don't know how to fix. I sound like I'm defending people when I'm not, because, by the way, I was a training officer both at the academy and on the street where you're an FTO, field training officer. I have failed people. I've made sure they did not become cops. They're going through the process, but I'm like, you can't do this job. And I have myself been involved with saying, you can't do this job. And I've been around a lot of other people who've done that. Cops do that to themselves. Like, that person is badge heavy. That person is this way. That person's that way. And you say, you can't do this job. We say that, not just me. This is across as much as I work with. So I know that that stuff happens. I don't want to kill anybody. But I know that when I've had situations where I've dealt with people, African Americans, we had this situation. I know I told you this, last year, but two guys, they were LA guys, gang members up in Santa Maria, and one of my partners came upon a drug deal going down. Well, everybody puts everybody in handcuffs, and we missed the gun. Completely missed it. We searched him, but we missed it because we're just human and people miss stuff. This guy was so limber that he reached around in his belt while in handcuffs, pulled a gun out, pointed it right at my friend John, another deputy, and pulled the trigger. Point blank range at his stomach. Fortunately, the guy didn't know what he was doing, and he didn't know how a gun worked. He had put the magazine in, but he had not racked the slide. Never shot, told us later, never shot a gun in his life. He comes to a drug deal with a gun. It was not a good idea. But anyway, he actually tried to kill John. We didn't shoot him. We just tackled him, took his gun from him, picked him up and said, "What did you do that for?" And he's like, "Well, I don't know. I'm sorry." Now he's like that. I'm really sorry. I don't know what I was doing. He pulled the gun, and I can't even believe he could do it because I could never do it. He put my hands in handcuffs. I can't reach around myself and do this, but he did. And he pulled that gun out and tried to shoot him in handcuffs. I was amazed. Fortunately, he didn't know what he was doing. If he'd have known what he's doing, John would have got shot point blank. But that stuff, we tackled that guy. 3 cops tackled the guy, okay? Nobody shoots him. It's not going to be on the news. Nobody cares that we didn't do that. I had the one in Lompoc where the guy stabbed his father multiple times, and he was an African-American, and I had a gun on him. So did another cop. We kept yelling him to get on the ground. His mother, we didn't know it was his mother, was yelling, "He still got the knife. He's still got the knife. He's still got the knife." There's blood everywhere. He eventually went on the ground and put him in handcuffs. I did tell him multiple times, if you do anything, you're going to get shot. He didn't put him in handcuffs. That doesn't make the news either. These things happen all the time. But
let me just stop you for a minute. But isn't that supposed to happen?
It would have been I really feel that I shot him.
Isn't that the way it's supposed to happen, Bill? Like, the way you police is the way it's supposed to be policed. So why should that make the news? You don't. It's sad, but it's the squeaky wheel that gets the attention, right? It gets the oil. So when we're doing our jobs correctly, we shouldn't be making the news all the time.
Right.
It's the parts that go wrong that should be making the news. But I think that if these officers, when they are blatantly in the wrong, got handcuffed on scene and taken away and got investigated like other people would in their jobs, you would see less of this. I totally believe that. I totally believe that, if we can have a different narrative that says, you know what, there's no reason to be afraid if you're a black man, but cops can be afraid of a black man. That's a double speak. And I don't think it's okay anymore. And I know that you're a good man. I know that Brandy's a good woman. I'm a good woman. But there's different sides of the fences, and no one's willing to acknowledge. Like, I don't hear anybody acknowledge that black men have a right to fear being stopped by the police. This guy, the Lieutenant Nazario, he literally said, "I'm afraid." At first, he drove at 10 miles per hour or something like that to a lit area, right? The officer radioed in saying, eluding police, and he was a high-risk stop because he slowed down regular speed to 10 miles per hour, put his blinkers on, I believe, and went to a high-lit area, but that was called in as a high-risk stop for eluding police. Right? That officer already had it in his mind that this was going to go bad.
Yeah.
before anything was warranted. And then it's like, oh, wait, he did have a tag in the window. Sorry, we missed that. Like, there's no recourse for these officers. People have to sue. The family of the white guy that was murdered by the police had to sue. This officer Nasario has to sue. Why don't we take these cops away by handcuff and say go through the justice system like everybody else does? Because that's what's going to stop it. Honestly, I believe that's what needs to be done, and that's going to stop this. Because until both sides see some kind of accountability other than, well, just quit your job. It's not okay. It's not okay. This shooting with this young boy, Dante Wright, was a mistake. But just to say quit your job and let's just get on with it is not.
I don't know if that one's over yet, though. I'm not sure. I don't know. I don't know what they're going to do in Minnesota because.
Well, I don't know what they're going to do either, but it says that they quit their job so that they can appease the riots. So, you just because it's an accidental discharge, you get away with it. I don't understand that. I just don't think you can have an accidental discharge.
Once again, I can't speak for them. I don't think that would happen where I work. You can't. You're responsible for every round that goes down range. That's from training from the get-go. So I can't see. Okay, there is. You weren't wrong. There's homicide just means the killing of one human to another. So there's sometimes it's justified, sometimes it's what we would call murder, and that's 187 PC. There's other times it's manslaughter, sometimes it's unintentional. So, but all of them are homicides. If you hit if somebody jumps in front of your car on a bicycle and you hit that person and kill them, that's a homicide because one person's actions killed another. But it doesn't mean that it's a murder. Okay, that's 187 PC. Another one might be a manslaughter type situation. So I actually believe, and I've trained people this way, if you do certain things and you cause somebody to, you yourself will be arrested. You're not qualified immunity. If you're outside the scope of your employment rules, you're not for that. It doesn't count. So, I mean, I've taught that to a lot of people. It doesn't mean you can do anything you want. You can't speed down the road unless you're running lights and sirens. You can't do it. If anything bad happens, you're in big trouble. And I've seen it happen. So I disagree, Melanie, that it never happens. What I'm going to say is you're right. It doesn't get on the news that this person, except for there is one very high profile one on the news every day now, but my point is,
Officer Chavez.
that's one thing. However, there are other trials. It's just not going to make the news. And I got to stop talking about this only because of this reason. I sound like I am much more on the cop side and against.
I don't hear that.
And
I don't know that I hear that you're on the cop side.
Not at all. Just because a person's wearing a uniform doesn't mean I think they're right at all. I don't believe that. They're human beings. And it's heartbreaking that this is going on. And every time I hear it, I go, oh man, this is making it so much harder. We're not going in the right direction.
Right. Well, and Bill, I always offer a different perspective. We're not police officers, and so we have to know what it looks like from your side of the track. You have to know that this is how I see it from my side, and Melanie and those watching. So I don't think that you're just, taking up for all police officers. You don't sound haughty or nothing like that. You're just giving us a perspective that we'll never see because we're not in your shoes.
And I want to say
that's what I love about this program is because we are from different backgrounds. Bill, you're a white officer. You have that experience and knowledge and wisdom that we don't have. Brandy's a black woman. I'm a mother of a black boy. This conversation hits each of us differently. But if we don't have it, then I believe it's our duty to have it, because someone may listen and say, oh, well, I didn't understand it that way. I'm only seeing it from my point of view. Now they can see it from a police officer's point of view and de-escalate their emotion. I think we do need to de-escalate and realize it's not blacks against cops and cops against blacks. It's the media portraying society in a really unhealthy and unequal way. That we have to not cave to what they're showing us, and at the same time stand for what's right. I have
And
no doubt that if something was going down against a person, whether they're a cop or a citizen, all three of us would speak up for the one that is wronged, no matter what side it is on.
oh, I think so. But I don't think the media will do that.
No, we will. And that's what
Yeah.
we got to encourage people, is not to listen to the media, not to listen to the biased reports, but say, as for me, I'm not going to listen to it. I'm going to choose each into my atmosphere, my circle of reference. What I need to do if I'm encountered in a situation or witness a situation, I'm going to be non-biased. I'm going to let the Holy Spirit guide me. I'm going to let peace guide me instead of just getting on the side of what the news or the riot or all these organizations are telling me to do.
But it's, once again, this is getting out of control because, like I said, I'm talking to a person who's a criminal. This person's a criminal, and but he's Hispanic, and I think it was partly tongue in cheek. I don't think he fully meant it, but he's like, "Oh no, this is the only racism here is against the Mexicans," and I'm like, I don't. The problem with that is if you start going down that hill, you can't get off of it. It rolls, and man, I am really actually concerned for the whole place, not just Minnesota or whatever. I'm concerned for the whole place. And here's the thing: the more times now that this happens, the more time we're going to get people not getting out of the car, not pulling over, not complying, and I'm going to ask a question that I'm not asking for an answer. I'm just asking the question. If you were a law enforcement officer and you pulled somebody over for whatever violation, I don't care what it is, it doesn't matter. And you tell that person, hey, I need you to exit the vehicle. And they say, I don't have to. Are you then supposed to say, okay, well, I understand, then you can go. I don't want a ticket. I don't want to be arrested. You can't do that to me, no matter what. The problem is when that starts happening, the more it happens, it's not going to end well. And this is what breaks my heart. It doesn't end well. Well, in the military, I was a soldier. I can tell you right now, if an officer, I'm an NCO, if an officer who knows nothing, zero, lieutenant, first lieutenant, he knows nothing, second lieutenant, even more, knows even less. Okay. He doesn't know what he's doing, gives an order. I still have to follow it, even though I've been here longer than him and I know more. He is in charge. If I don't do that, we can't have a military. We can't have one. The PFC says, well, that's a bad idea, Lieutenant. And maybe the PFC is right. But when he doesn't do it, what he's ordered to do, the whole system is going to completely collapse. And I actually see our system kind of collapsing. Our freedom is good, but freedom isn't free. It has to be worked for. And if we don't work at it together, our grandchildren may not have any freedom. And I actually can see that. I can see a police state, not like we're talking about, like China's or Russia used to be, a police state where the government's just going to rule everything. They're going to tell you, get that vaccine, wear that mask, do this, do that. And you aren't going to have a say in it. I am so against that. And I'm fearful that that's where we're rolling, because the more chaos, eventually someone will cry for, I need somebody to get rid of this chaos at all costs. And that's going to be a really bad thing. Now, I hope I'm wrong. I really do. But I'm actually pretty brokenhearted this week because I saw it happen and I just put my head down and go, man, this is really bad. And not just for us, but for our children and grandchildren, because I don't think it's going to be fixed anytime soon.
Brandy?
Well, again, somebody sat around the table a long, long time ago, and they came up with these great rules that control made people change things. And if I can make you do something, but I don't think a test of the wheels with alcohol and drugs and guns involved changes anything. So I do understand not letting someone drive away that's got a DUI. I do understand not letting someone drive away that you're in a high speed chase for what, although I disagree with high speed chases. But I get that there are some extreme cases where you should be involved. But for the guy that was at the gas station, there was no reason that he was giving him to get out of the car, if I'm not mistaken. What was he stopped for?
Well, I don't agree with
well,
his behavior in any way, by the way.
Well,
I started
this
off
is
with that.
yeah. This is the quote that's at the bottom of the screen is Lieutenant Nazario's quote. He kept saying to the police officer, "Can you please talk to me about what is going on?" He was begging to get information. What did you stop me for? What is going on? Can you just tell me why I need, what's happening? Can you just talk to me? They never did tell him. They got him out of the car. They pepper sprayed him, got him out of the car, kicked him to the ground. Literally, it's on video. Kicked him to the ground. And then they let him go after all that. Oh, you can go now. Threatened him and said, if you want to pursue this legally, then you can jeopardize your military career, or you could just let this go and pretend it never happened.
Yep.
This was, to me, two cops. It wasn't just the one cop. The other cop that stood there and did nothing is just as liable. But this is a cop who had a chip on his shoulder from the get-go. And he knew he did wrong. And that's why he said, you can let this go, or I'm going to get your military career. I think, go ahead, Brandy.
Other cop try to make him back up, because he was being so forceful, and I think he even said something to the nature of shooting him for no reason.
Right here, he said, "You're fixing to ride the lightning, son." That's what he said.
That means the taser.
It was something.
You're fixing to ride the lightning.
So,
okay, but wait a minute, Brent, you know that's a taser. We don't know that's a taser.
Right. No, I'm not defending that.
Know that.
And by the way, Brandy, I want to say something. We actually do. I've been involved many times where somebody's getting a little angry and other cops step in and they just said, okay, you come over here and the other guy's going to take care of this. Or even I've had people, I'm not angry at all. And I've still been taken aside because the other person is so mad at me. They're so angry with me. Cops do step in. This happens a lot. But it doesn't happen every time, obviously.
But Bill and Brandy, if I just gotta say, this is the thing. This is the thing that gets under my craw. Is here we are. We know, all of us agree, this officer is bad to the bone. He is horrible. He should never carry a weapon. He should be prosecuted for what he did to this gentleman, whatever that means in the law. Okay. But we are still, though we all agree that he's bad, this was a wrong stop. We're all not agreeing. There's still conversation about, but in other instances, this didn't go bad. I mean, we're still excusing the behavior, but it's not every cop. If this officer was, taken care of legally, instead of everybody say, but if the guy just got out of the car, no, this is a bad cop. Why can't we just have that conversation without putting blame on Officer Nazario? I don't understand why he's even part of the conversation. This guy did wrong. This cop is bad. Can we just leave the conversation at that? We always got to defend by saying what cops like you are, Bill. You're a good cop. Why do we have to put that in the picture? This guy's wrong. Why can't we just deal with him? Why can't he just get treated like the wrong person he is?
Once again, every situation has to be individually looked upon, and I agree with that. And I actually know that we do a lot of times. So that I can't speak for other states, and I keep saying that because I only work in California. But I can tell you, You can get prosecuted in California. Cops lose their job every year. They go to jail every year. Somebody gets arrested. We've taken people out of our
Right.
custody
But
jail,
until we
out
see
in
that,
handcuffs. It does happen, but it
but
doesn't.
until we see that,
Right. I don't think
then,
anybody does.
you know, okay, so here, David Evans comment. Hello, David. Welcome. He says, does it matter that he had a warrant for armed burglary? I have not seen that anywhere.
I don't think he's
But would
talking
it
about
matter?
the lieutenant.
Yeah, he's talking about the lieutenant.
I don't
I've
think.
not
I don't
seen
think
that,
he is. I think.
but oh, you don't think he's?
I don't think David is speak. I read that too. I go, well, you're not talking about the lieutenant situation. I don't believe.
I have not seen anywhere where either of the people we were talking about. But if you have a warrant for an armed burglary, yeah, that makes a difference on how you stop the person. But the cop needs to know beforehand. I know that for the young man that was killed, Dante, he did have outstanding warrants for having pot and not showing up for a court date. But they didn't know that at the time of stopping him. So for me, you can pull up all of these things that the person, like I could be a mass murderer and you stop me for a ticket, right? For speeding. If you don't know that I'm a murderer, wanted, when you stop me, it has no bearing after you stop me.
But
None.
even if they did, you would still get your Burger King meal. So that doesn't matter because we take people to jail after they get their food. Like, so it doesn't matter what the trial, whatever their charge was, it's still always handled differently. He still, if that was the case, this gentleman, he asked him to get out the car. Is it not the police officer's job to state his claim as to why? That's all he asked him was, why am I getting out the car? What did I do? Can you explain it to me? Can you talk to me?
And I'm going to say that I would, and everybody, most people, I can't say everybody, most people I've worked with would just do that. They'd say, okay, this is what happened. You didn't pull over. I need to find out what's going on here or whatever. Now, here's the situation, not that happens a lot. Why'd you pull me over? Because you ran that red light back there. No, I didn't. Okay, well, you did. I'm going to write you a ticket, but then I go run them and they come back with a warrant. Dude, you got to get out of the car. I got to talk to you. Because I don't want to tell him he has a warrant while he's in the car because he's going to just take off and that's going to endanger people and everything else. So I'm like, hey, come on back here. Let me talk to you. And if they don't, I got to eventually pull them out. I do. I have to
without telling them why.
Okay.
Without them, see, I have a problem with that. If you stop me,
I'm being very cautious here with it's totalitarian. The total circumstances. Every circumstance is different. So I'm not saying that every time you do this is the way it works. But generally speaking, when a driver has a warrant, I ask him to exit the vehicle. Which, by the way, they seem to always do. So I don't have a problem with it. Maybe how I ask, I don't know. They seem to do it most of the time. They don't do it necessarily the first minute, but I seem to get them out just talking to them. But I am always concerned, especially for criminals, not for average people, but people who have gone to jail 5 times in the last 2 years and they don't want to go back, that they're going to take off and they're going to hit somebody. That happens. And I'm always concerned about that. Even when we hit the rotators and people take off, if we're going into any busy area, we stop. We stop doing it. We stop chasing them because so many dangerous things are going on. So there's a lot more to this than just, one little incident. But I never excuse bad behavior by the cops, and I'm not. And I know I'm not. But maybe some people listening don't know that. Think that just because I'm the cop, I'm choosing our side. But, like it's my side against yours. That's not true. I don't think we're always right. We're human beings. And by the way, once again, even in different states, they're just individual people. And some people handle situations better than others. And that's stressful situations. If you can't handle them, you probably shouldn't be a cop. I'm just saying that because there's a lot of them. Go on a ride alone and just do it. And you'll be amazed sometimes what you see. That's what I always get told. I'm amazed at what I just saw. I heard that. I've heard that so many times. I had a guy actually ride along thinking he was going to hear us say we're taking people's rights and how can we do that? And after the
Well,
ride along, he goes, never heard a bit of that. You guys were really nice to people. And I go, yeah, that's every night. And he goes, I really thought that this, and he was a white guy, but he was like, oh no, they get around briefing and they go, how can I take people's constitutional rights from them? And I'm like, I've never heard that said in any briefing in my life. But he really did the ride along to catch us doing that.
mhm.
And he told me
Yeah,
after.
I don't think that, like we said earlier, we said this in the beginning, we're not going to be able to solve anything this
I know.
conversation, but I think it's important to give all points of reference and to talk about it. And I thank Mr. Evans for asking that comment. I hope we answered his question, but here's the thing. You have a Army lieutenant who was completely humiliated for no reason. He's in uniform serving our country. You have a young man who got pulled over because, according to the reports, he had an air freshener in his rearview mirror, which I have never, ever had heard of that before. But he winded up dead. He was afraid for his life. His mom was on the phone. He was afraid for his life at the get-go because he's only 10 miles away from where George Floyd was murdered. So there was unrest in his own spirit. You know, we're not going to come up with a solution, but I think we need to keep our hearts unjudgmental, you know, to the point where we can have compassion for those who lost their lives. You know, this young man, I'm going to show his picture just out of respect. How do we talk about him and his death and not give him a little bit of peace, of respect? So, to Dante Wright and his family, may God be with you, to his family, to somehow comfort you in this, what I totally understand is an injustice. He should be alive. He should be alive.
I agree.
And so we just, you know, prayers will go out to your family. Prayers will go out to those, especially, you know, even Lieutenant Nazario, for the emotional trauma that he has experienced. If we don't speak about it, if we don't have accountability in this country, that really is accountability. You know, the crime has the punishment has to fit the crime. Then we're going to continue to have these stories, and I think that's just sad. So I appreciate everybody joining us today. Please know, me, Bill, and Randy, we are still buddies no matter what you think.
Oh
you
no,
heard.
we love each other.
We are lifers, because, you know, Jesus paid the price for us. And
right.
I pray that everybody can not listen to the media. Don't listen to the rhetoric that you're being told to rise up. You don't need to rise up. You need to fall down on your knees and join with everyone and ask God to put his hand back on this country and on this world, and not give us over to our own ways. Thank you for joining us today, guys. Be blessed. And don't forget your daily dose of truth here. There's our schedule, and have a good night.